If you want to lose weight whenever you want, this is the most important video that you will ever watch. I'm Patrick Wilson. I'm a fitness coach. I've helped over 1,000 people lose weight. I myself have lost 50 pounds before, and at any point in time, I've been able to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds whenever I want. In this video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know so that you can do the same. So what we're talking about is a calorie deficit. That's how I've helped every single person lose fat, lose weight. That's how I've done it myself, is by being in a calorie deficit. But this is still something that so many people are confused about, because everyone, probably you in this video, watching this video, has tried a different dieting approach, tried something new, done all these different random diets like cutting out oils, cutting out carbs. No matter what the dieting strategy is, it all comes back to being in a calorie deficit. But again, it's very confusing. So that's what we are going to cover today. We're going to be covering 4 main areas, as you can see on this board right here. I'm going to be referring to this board, going over these 4 areas, and there's going to be little subcategories within all of these. And I have my laptop right here so I can go through some additional notes as well. So if you see me referring back and forth between these, that's what I'm doing. So what we're going to go through today, what exactly is a calorie deficit? Actually, in a simplified way so that you can understand what it is, what it means. When everyone says, just be in a calorie deficit, you can be like, yeah, I see you. I know what you're talking about. I got it. Unlock. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to be in a calorie deficit. So it's, you need to like conceptually understand what a calorie deficit is, how it works, but then this is where we're gonna talk about the actual actionable steps that you can take and should take to be in a calorie deficit. So again, I'm gonna go over a few different things here, including calorie deficit calculators, the main things to focus on, how to determine your calorie goals. The next thing we're gonna cover are tips and reminders with these 3 main categories: mindset, nutrition, workout. So in order to be a calorie deficit, you need to have those 3 things on lockdown. So I'm going to provide my most helpful tips that I can give you there along the way. And then lastly, if you run into a plateau, you run into a wall with your calorie goals and you just can't lose weight anymore, you're confused why, that's what we're going to talk about in this section of the video. So with that being said, let's get it going in this first section. And don't worry, I'm just gonna keep rolling, keep talking. Hopefully that's okay. It's not gonna be too overly edited. We're just me and you talking about all these different concepts and things. So first things first, in this first category, what is a calorie deficit exactly? Most simply put, it simply means that you are burning more calories than you are eating. And so I think the most important, there's four different ways that you burn calories, and we're gonna go over that. But basically the main thing that you wanna keep in mind is that it is all about calories you're taking in versus the calories that are coming out, aka the calories you're burning. So that's where this CECO thing, I just put that so I can remember what to talk about. But basically, again, it's all about the calories you're taking in versus the calories that you are burning. So what the biggest misconception, I think, is that people think in order to be in a calorie deficit, you need to be burning more calories from a workout than you are eating in a day. So say you eat 1,500 calories in a day, just arbitrary number. People think that you need to, or you might think that you need to go burn 1,700 calories through your workout, through a HIIT workout, through a jog, through running, through steps throughout the day, and that's not how it works. So basically, there are 4 main ways that you burn calories throughout the day, and this is important so that you understand how a deficit actually works. So 1, you burn calories just by being a living human being. If you just sat in your bed all day, you would still be burning a substantial amount of calories. And this is where a majority of your calorie burn comes from, is just by being a live living organism. You could also account that if you have a little bit more muscle mass, that plays a role. That factors in a few of these other areas as well. But just your actual metabolism, you could lay in bed all day, you still need food to survive. Or you would start to lose weight if you didn't have any food. But anyway, that's one way you burn calories, just by being a living human being, and that's the main way. The next thing, this is the smallest one. Actually, we'll go in order. I misordered these. But the next way is through exercise. So this is the common way that I was talking about, where a lot of people think that you need to burn all your calories from, jogging, running, HIIT workouts. So you do burn, depending on the kind of workout it is, it could be 300 to 500 calories per workout. I will say, we'll talk about this in a second, and I'm a big fan of lifting workouts. That's an important way to actually lose body fat and be looking and feeling your best. But you don't burn a ton of calories from lifting itself. You normally burn the most amount of calories from cardio. So by walking, by jogging, by doing those HIIT workouts. So if you do want to burn some extra calories, then cardio is the way to go about it. But that's probably the next biggest way and next biggest calorie burn factor on a day-to-day basis, where people burn the most calories and where you can burn some extra calories and make it easier to be in a calorie deficit. The next one is just little fidgets that you do throughout the day. So any additional activity that isn't you intentionally getting a workout in. So that's how you want to think about it. It's like, all right, you're a living human being. You burn a lot of calories just by doing that, by being alive, thankfully, thank God. Number two, you then can go get some exercise in, go for a workout, go get a jog in, go do a HIIT class, whatever it is. You burn calories doing that. And then any fidgets you have throughout the day, any additional walking, you walking upstairs, you cleaning your house, you having sex, whatever it is, if you're doing that, shout out to you. But whatever extra activity that you're getting in, that accounts for some additional calories that you are burning. So that's probably the third biggest one. And then number four, and this is like such a minimal amount, but it does factor in, is the food you take in. So if you have a lot of higher protein foods or more whole foods, you burn some additional calories. Your body burns some additional calories because it takes more energy to digest them compared to stuff that's a little bit more processed, or just like something that's just like simple sugars, stuff like that. So if you're having more higher protein foods, more fruits, more veggies, normally you're gonna burn a tiny bit of extra calories from that, but again, like such a small amount, like an extra maybe 1 to 5%. But every little bit matters, okay? So I'm not gonna discredit that. So that's how a calorie deficit overall works. Basically, the amount that you are eating and drinking throughout the day. So you have this amount of food you're eating and drinking throughout the day, and then you have this amount of calories that you're burning throughout the day from those four things. You need to be eating and drinking less calories than that amount that you are burning. And if you are doing that, it's less than that, then you're in a deficit. Say that say you're not losing weight and you're just staying around the same weight, then that means that you're at your maintenance calories, and one of those two things need to change. So you either need to be burning more calories, or you need to be decreasing the amount of calories you're taking in. And then say you get to a point where your goal is then to start to build muscle, start to gain weight, then you want to be getting in and eating and drinking more calories than you are burning. So that's how it works. We're talking about being in a calorie deficit, so you're going to be eating and drinking less than the calories that you're burning. If you are okay to maintain your weight, you feel good about where you're at, or you have a lot going on in life, that's where you're at around a calorie maintenance amount. So they want to be around the same. They want to be close to the same, the calories burned and the calories you're eating. And then the next thing, like I said, is if you want to be in a calorie surplus to build muscle and gain weight, that's how you do it. You take in and eat and drink more calories than you are burning through all that. So that's how that aspect of it works. Simple. It's simple. It's literally, that's how it works. That's how you lose weight. If you are in a calorie deficit, you're you're eating less calories than you are burning throughout the day. You're in a calorie deficit, and you will eventually lose weight. You can be in a deeper calorie deficit. So say that you want to speed up the weight and fat loss process, you could cut your calories that you're eating and drinking down a little bit more, and or you could increase your activity or the calories that you are burning. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, you're probably wondering, all right, so how do I go about it? What are the actual actionable steps to take? That's what we're going to cover right here. So how to be in a calorie deficit, and we're going to cover 3 main things with this. We're going to cover what your calorie goal should be, just a guesstimate. We're going to cover calorie deficit calculators, because I think that's something that a lot of people look at and get confused about. And then we're going to cover the 4 things that you should do in order to be in a calorie deficit. So first things first, calorie goals. Again, you lose weight, lose fat by burning more calories than you are eating and drinking. So we want to, and I think the easiest way to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight is to control the amount of calories that you are taking in. It's really hard to track how many calories you're burning. They have the different watches, they on the treadmill, they give you a rough idea, but it's so all over the place that it's tough to know exactly what that number is. And either way, you still need to be mindful of the calories you're taking in, because for most people, we simply just don't have the time or energy to out exercise the food and beverages that we have. The old saying is like, you can't out exercise a bad diet. And that's kind of the same concept here. You just, as an adult, if you're watching this and you have like other responsibilities, or you're just not an avid fan of working out nonstop throughout the day, then you're gonna be like, all right, so then you need to be mindful of the calories that you're eating and drinking. And that's where you having a calorie goal each day comes into play. So the way that I normally like to do it for most people is you want to take your weight, your current weight in pounds, and multiply it by 10 and multiply it by 11. And so for example, if you are 200 pounds, multiply by 10, multiply by 11, that's 2,000 and 2,200. That is the range of calories that you want to be with. So literally write it down right now. I'll put the formula. I'm gonna actually write an article or put an article up, so this is all kind of in the article too. But basically you want to write this down, do the little formula, do your current weight multiplied by 10, current weight multiplied by 11. That is the calorie range that you want to stay within in order to be in a deficit. And so I know there are a lot of different factors and it might not be exactly perfect, but as long as you are getting started with something, that is good. And honestly, that's normally the range that we start with most clients. The factors that we take into play are if you're a little bit older, or you have a little bit more body fat to lose, or you aren't as active, then your calorie goals might need to be a little bit lower. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So maybe it's like multiplying by 9 and 10 if any of those things are going on. If you are a little bit more active, you have more muscle mass, you're a little bit younger, you have, again, just more activity throughout the day, then maybe you multiply that, your current weight, by 11 and 12. So if you have, a lot more going on, then you multiply it by a higher number. So that's really where we start with. And then the biggest thing when you are trying to be in a calorie deficit, you're trying to lose weight, you want to be tracking your calories every day, trying to stick close to or within that range. And then I think what most people get caught up on and kind of going on this this point about calorie calculators is that every single calorie calculator is going to give you a different number. You could literally go to 5 to 10 different ones from reputable people, reputable sources, and they're all going to give you a different number. Some might be, again, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. My biggest piece of advice is just to pick one of those, stick with it for 2, 3, 4 weeks, that calorie goal it gives you. Be as consistent as possible, or even, I would say even do it for a week and be as consistent as possible and try to stay within that calorie goal. And then you can figure out if you need to make adjustments or not. So if you do it the way that I said, where you're multiplying your weight by 10 and 11, you try to stay within that range and you stick with that, and you stick with it for 2 weeks. You're super consistent with it for 2 weeks and your scale weight has gone down. You're down by 1-2 pounds on the scale, which is, again, great progress in a matter of 2 weeks. About a pound a week is really good. So if you're down 2 pounds on the scale, that calorie deficit goal, that calorie goal is allowing you to be in a deficit and you want to stay consistent with it. Say that goal that you have, your calorie goal, you stayed around the same weight or you went up in weight, then that tells us that there needs to be some kind of changes made, either with your calorie goals, you need to be a little bit lower calorie, or you need to be burning more calories. And we'll get into that when we talk about plateaus. But pick a calorie goal when you're trying to be in a deficit. Pick a calorie goal to stick with to help you lose weight, lose fat, have a goal, and then you can always adjust it. Stop trying to look around for the perfect number, because that doesn't exist. You figure out the perfect number by tracking your calories and actually doing it and staying consistent with this stuff. And then you can evaluate and see if you're making progress or not. So that is what I would say for the calorie goal. That is the most important thing, one of the most important things. Now, the other big time things to focus on in order to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight, lose fat. There's going to be 4 main things that I would focus on to do this. And these are just simple things. These are things we focus on with our clients, with my group coaching program, with our one-on-one coaching business. These are some of the main things we focus on. So one, again, is going to be that calorie goal. You want to stay within that calorie number in order to lose weight and fat, and that is the most important thing. The next biggest thing is going to be getting in steps throughout the day. So again, we talked about getting in some additional exercise is going to help you burn more calories and make it easier to be in a calorie deficit. So having a step goal to aim for every single day is extremely helpful and so underrated when it comes to losing weight, losing fat, being in a calorie deficit. Get in non-negotiable, no matter your age, no matter where you're at in life, get in 5,000 to 10,000 steps per day, every single day. If you do that and you're tracking your calories, you will lose weight, you will lose fat, you will make a ton of progress. So 5,000 to 10,000 steps per day, being within your calorie goals. And then the other couple of things to kind of keep in mind that'll help out a little bit, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in this next section. But if you want to kind of take it to the next level and you want to lose more body fat and you want to look a little bit more lean, toned, ripped, then you want to be getting in enough protein as well. So having a calorie and protein goal is going to be extremely, extremely helpful. So the protein side of things helps you fill up for less calories. So if you're having chicken breast and eggs and Greek yogurt and shrimp, those kind of foods are super low calorie but filling for the calories. So it's going to make it a lot easier to stay within that calorie goal, because sometimes when you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to be a little bit hungry, and that's somewhat normal. And again, we'll talk about that in a second, but you want foods that are going to be more filling for the calories. So that's a big time thing to focus on. And then the other thing is lifting weights. And this is something you don't absolutely have to do if your goal is strictly to lose weight, lose fat. But I would say if you can get in 3 lifting sessions, even if they're 25, 30 minutes each lifting session, and I'll have more videos going over what to focus on if you're a beginner with lifting or kind of how to get started with all of it. But having a set workout program is super helpful. Again, that's something we have with the group coaching program, one-on-one coaching stuff, and is really helpful if you want to get started lifting on a regular basis. But the lifting side of things basically makes it easier or allows you to build and retain muscle. And when you have more muscle, one, as you lose overall mass from your body, you lose weight from your body, you're going to have more of that lean, toned, ripped look, which I think more people are going for. You want to lose weight, but I think when most people think about losing weight, they have a certain look that they want, and normally that is like having some definition, having core, losing fat from your stomach area, having arms a little bit more defined. So the lifting and the protein side of things helps out with that a ton. So if you have a quality program that you're doing 3 days per week, even if it's 25, 30 minutes, you're focusing on compound exercises, which are basically exercises where you're using multiple muscle groups at a time. So that'll be squats. I just did legs yesterday, so I'm a little bit sore. But you use your quads, you use your glutes, a little bit of hamstrings, core when you're doing squats. RDLs, you use your glutes, you use your hamstrings. Dumbbell bench press, you use your triceps, little shoulder, chest. Shoulder press is shoulder and triceps. And then rows, you use your back and then biceps. So even if you just do like a full body workout of those 5 exercises 3 times per week and try to gradually go up in weight and gradually get stronger, that is perfect for a lifting workout, especially if you're just getting started. And again, if you want a more in-depth program, that's something that we do, but that's the 4 main things that you want to focus on to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight, and the actual actionable things that you can get started with. So having a calorie goal, having a protein goal, aiming to be within those numbers every single day, tracking your calories. You can track your calories through MyFitnessPal, LifeSum. There's a few different apps that are really solid that you can track your calories on there. For me, I normally just write down the calories in the notes section of my phone or a piece of paper throughout the day. And with tracking calories too, it might seem tedious at first. It's gonna, you have to, take a couple minutes every time you have a meal and try to figure out the calories of it. It's gonna be a little bit tedious at first, but it's like learning anything new. After 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you start to notice what the calorie amount of different foods. You start to have some of the same meals on a day-to-day basis, and it makes it easier to just quickly enter in, all right, I had, this grilled chicken salad or grilled chicken bowl or whatever it was, and it was 400 calories, 40 grams of protein. And so you start to see and pick up on, how many calories it is, protein, and it makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker. At first, it'll feel a little bit tedious, but again, one of the best things you can do is understanding calories, understanding what foods are higher, lower calories. And so that way you can lose fat whenever you want, be in a deficit whenever you want, know that you're staying within your calorie goal, and down the road, you can maintain a lot easier too, because again, people, once they lose weight, once they lose fat, then you still want to maintain that, and you still have to keep up with some of these habits as far as being mindful of calories, being around maintenance calories, not going way overboard. And when you still know and have a general idea of how many calories foods have, it's a game changer for sure. So that's another thing. The other thing when it comes to tracking calories, and then we're going to move on to this right here, is that you could literally work in any meal, any food within your calorie goal in the day and still lose weight. So you technically could work in ice cream or wine or literally whatever you want, as long as you're staying within that calorie goal, getting in enough protein, you're having plenty of filling foods throughout the day, fruits, veggies, again, high protein foods, and you're still within the calorie goal, you're gonna lose weight, you're gonna lose fat. So you don't have to be overly crazy restrictive in order to lose weight and be in a calorie deficit. So with that said, we are moving on to number 3. And I guess that could have kind of, what I just said, could have kind of fell within this right here. This is where I'm gonna get my laptop out. So give me 2.75 seconds to get this out, because I have a list of different things that have helped me a ton along this journey. So Also, hopefully, y'all see the Selena shirt. I got it at Target. Okay, so we're gonna go over tips in order to be in a calorie deficit and some of the things that have helped me out the most. So mindset tips and just overall calorie deficit tips. So the first one right here, mindset. And mindset and just like understanding how it works. So one of the biggest things that you need to keep in mind is that, and we said this in the beginning of the video, is that the goal of every single diet that you hear about out there, the goal is to be in a calorie deficit. Even if the coach, the nutrition person, whoever, Dr. Phil, is not saying it out loud, they're saying, oh, cut back on oils, cut back on whatever, do intermittent fasting, blah, 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 blah. The overall goal of that diet is that you are in a calorie deficit. And so that's the reason that I say to track your calories, because it all comes down to total calories. So if you go directly to the root cause of why you are or are not losing weight, then it just makes it a lot easier instead of second guessing yourself. I've had a lot of clients that I've worked with in the past where they've done keto or they've done intermittent fasting, and they might make progress at first. They might, lose 5 to 10 pounds at first really quickly, but then they hit a plateau forever and they don't know what to do and why that is. The reason is because they're still a little bit too high calorie and or not getting enough activity. But when you know exactly where you're at calorie wise, then you can adjust your calories accordingly in order to keep making more progress. So no matter what the dieting strategy is, just remember that their goal of the goal of any diet is to be in a calorie deficit. So that's one. Number two, when it comes to mindset, it takes time to lose weight and lose fat. Just because you're not making progress right away does not mean that your calorie deficit is not working. And that's something else that people get really caught up and hung up on. They think, oh, if I'm not losing 5 pounds in a week, it's not working and I suck. And I think we all are like that. That's human nature. As a person, we want things to happen as fast as possible, and we get really antsy and anxious if it's not happening right then and there. And so please keep that in mind. As long as you are taking these actions, you're getting steps in, you're tracking your calories, you are lifting weights consistently, you're doing those main things and you're giving it time, consistency, and being overall patient, then you will make a lot of progress. The cool thing about lifting, or the cool thing about losing weight and this whole fitness thing, is that it is 1000% in your control. There's a lot of things where we get really anxious about and get caught up on, and we want progress to happen immediately in life, such as like investing. Like we want to make as much money as fast as possible when we start to invest in something. Or with our career, our job, we want to get to the next step as fast as possible. In life, you always want to be progressing to the next thing. And yeah, some of that is within your control a little bit, but a lot of it is determined on the outside world and what happens around you. Whereas this fitness side of things, it is completely within your control. Like you can be consistent with your calorie goals. That's up to you. You can get in steps throughout the day. That's up to you. You can get in lifting workouts. You can get in more protein. All those things are solely up to you. And that's why I think fitness is one of the coolest and best things. And losing weight is, it is a little bit more challenging too, because you almost have to look yourself in the mirror sometimes and be like, wow, I'm the reason. I'm the problem, it's me. I'm the reason that I'm not making progress. But the great thing again is that you can take the next steps and actions in order to keep making more progress and making more strides. So that's one extremely important thing to keep in mind. The next thing, a calorie deficit is not a type of diet. It is objectively just how you lose weight. So a lot of people will be like, I'm doing a calorie deficit diet. I think what they mean is that they're tracking their calories and aiming to be in a calorie deficit, but there's no such thing as a calorie deficit diet. It's all, like going back to the first point, they're all calorie deficit diets, if you think of it like that. The way, again, that I would recommend is by tracking your calories, having a calorie goal and aiming to be within that goal in order to be in a deficit. But just keep that in mind too, I hear that a lot. The next thing, a calorie deficit works for everyone. I know there are some people that swear they're at a certain age or hormones or they've tried it nonstop and they can't make progress. But what I would say is that you're probably, going back to the point I had before, it's within your control and you're probably needing to adjust or do something better or different in order to be in a calorie deficit. Either you need to track all of your calories of all the food you're having, all the snacks, all the drinks. You need to be like weigh out your food sometimes, or you're not getting in enough steps, or you're not consistent with being in your calorie deficit. You're not being consistent on the weekends. You're not being consistent day to day. And that's why you're not making progress. You're not giving it enough time. So a calorie deficit works for everyone. but you have to make adjustments if it's not working for you. The calorie deficit is how it works. Again, it's not a type of diet that's going to work or not. It is what it is, and you got to make changes to be in a calorie deficit. The next thing, everyone loses weight at different rates. So you might have a friend that lost 10 pounds in a month, and you've only lost 4 pounds in a month. Or you might have a friend that, over the last year they lost 50 pounds, and you've been trying, and you've only lost 15 to 20 pounds. Everyone loses weight and fat at a different pace. We all have different life things going on. We all need more time to kind of understand how this stuff works and how to integrate it into our life and how to be more consistent with it. I know there's a lot of things in my own personal life that it's taken me time to kind of integrate, and it's taken 3, 6, 12 months. There's still things I'm working on where I'm like, I'm struggling to like figure this part of it out. And so with fitness and with weight loss, as long as you keep trying and keep it in your mind and putting in some consistent effort, you're gonna figure it out eventually. But don't look outside of your own personal goals and be like, why aren't I at this point now? Because that's not productive for you at all. That's not gonna help you at all. Looking at someone else's progress and then thinking negatively about yourself is doing no good for you. That is not helping you lose weight at all. Look at someone else doing it as motivation and be like, yo, if they can do it, I can for sure do it. That's what I think when it comes to anything in life. I'm like, that dude did that? He, built his business, he lost weight, he looks like that. I can do that. What? That's crazy. So think of it like that. Use it as motivation. Be like, I can actually do that. And don't think negatively about yourself. Don't judge yourself so much. Life is tough, dude. Like, it's challenging at times. Like, it's no joke. And again, fitness can be tough. Like when you're not making progress and you see yourself every day and you're like, oh, I don't like how I look. That's tough mentally. Talk positively to yourself. Think about this in a positive way. You can and you will make progress. And again, it's up to you. I think, again, that's where trying to be fitness and losing weight and how we look as people is a very emotional thing. But if you try your best to think of it from a very objective point of view and be like, all right, I am not making progress because I'm not being consistent with this, or this thing, or one thing, or whatever it is. I'm not making progress because X, Y, Z, and you're real with yourself. That's the best thing that you could ever do. I know the times when I've made the most progress in my life with my business, with my own personal fitness goals, with the relationships, with investing, with anything, is when I've looked in the mirror and I've like actually sat down and thought about it objectively, and I've been like, all right, you suck right now because you are doing this instead of this, you're not doing this. And again, you got to be able to have those kind of conversations with yourself. So that's another thing to keep in mind. All right, progress. As far as going off of that, if you are losing 0.5 to 1 pound per week on average over the long term, that's amazing. That's really good progress. You don't need to be losing 2 to 3 pounds every single week. If you have more weight to lose, then it's going to be easier to lose weight a little bit quicker. Yes, if you're leaner already, then scale weight's not going to go down quite as fast. But just in general, across the board, if you're gradually chipping away, you're losing half a pound every single week on average, and even some weeks you might maintain. Like I've had many clients where there's one of my clients, Emily, she lost a total of about 60 pounds over the course of 2 years while we were working together. She built a lot of muscle, she lost a lot of fat, lost a lot of weight, but there was many times where it'd be like a 2-3 month stretch where she didn't lose any weight, and then other months where she lose 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds in that month and then maintain again, and there's different life things going on. So don't think like just because you aren't consistently losing nonstop doesn't mean that you're not making overall progress. Sometimes you need to take consistent action. Maybe sometimes you have a vacation or there's stuff going on and calories are a little bit higher. You can't be as consistent because of work or life things going on, but you can maintain as best as possible, and then you can kind of kick it into gear again and keep chipping away, making more progress. So on average, around a pound, half a pound per week is fantastic. And then if there is a period of time where it isn't as much progress, that's okay too. And then lastly, going off of what I just said, there is always something that you can do to keep making more progress. You could change something with nutrition. You could be cutting back on calories a little bit more. You could be more consistent with workouts, with steps, with nutrition. So there's always something you can do, and remember, it's within your control. I've said that a lot, but just a reminder, All right, so those were the mindset tips. Nutrition tips. I kind of said this again before, so I'm kind of dabbling in different sections here, but It is all about the total calories, not the kind of foods that you are having. Yes, you want to be having a lot of fruits, veggies, protein sources, but again, you could work in chocolate or wine or tequila or whatever into your day and still make progress as long as you are staying within your calorie goals, getting steps in. For example, for me, this is kind of how I normally structure my days. I normally have a higher protein breakfast, so like eggs, egg whites, Greek yogurt, and then some fruit. Lunchtime, I normally have like either like some kind of like chicken or ground beef, some kind of veggie, and then I'll have like a protein bar, maybe fruit, something just kind of like a little bit sweet on the side with that. But again, those are two like filling, low calorie, high protein meals. And then normally at dinner time is when I kind of save calories for something a little bit more fun and enjoyable. So maybe I'll go and get, tacos or like a pasta dish, or I'll have a couple drinks, or I'll work in like some ice cream or something like that. But even still, 2 of the meals of the day are still like healthy, as you would say, as most people would say, eating clean. And then I'll have 1 meal in the day where it's a little bit more fun, a little bit higher calorie, but I'm still being mindful of portions and fitting it within my calorie goals for the day. So that's a way that I go about it and structure it. And again, I think that's important to know that just because you're having a meal out or you're having something a little bit more fun, tasty, enjoyable, doesn't mean that you have to go off of your calorie deficit. You can still stay in a calorie deficit. So the next thing. Again, tracking calories to me is one of the best and easiest ways to lose weight, because you literally have a number to base it on. And if you're not making progress, you can be like, all right, this is the reason why I went over my calorie goals too much. Bada bing, bada boom. I got to cut them down a little bit. And you can go back and look and see what the foods were you had and cut back. But if you don't want to track calories and you absolutely hate it, there are things that you can do in order to lose weight and be in a calorie deficit without tracking calories. The couple biggest things that I would say are just reducing portion sizes of what you're having right now. So if you're having 3 pieces of pizza, have 2 slices of pizza. If you're having 4 glasses of wine a night, or whatever, like some absurd amount, whatever, really any amount, doesn't have to be an absurd amount. If you're having a couple glasses of wine a night, have 1 glass of wine a night. If you're having a bunch of snacks throughout the day, maybe you just have like 1 snack throughout the day. If you're having a bigger portion of dessert, you're having a lot of ice cream at night, still have it, just have half of the amount, have half the portion. That is the simplest way to be in a calorie deficit, is just cutting back on the portions of the foods that you are having. The other thing is having 1 meal in the day that's more healthy. So if, say you have, your normal meals that you normally have, and they're like, yeah, they're not the most healthy, but they're okay, and you're somewhat mindful of portions, but then you work in 1 meal throughout the day where it's like chicken, broccoli, and like some fruit on the side, then you are going to cut back a lot of calories with that meal, and then you're going to be able to be in a calorie deficit that way. So it doesn't have to be these crazy changes in order to keep making progress. You can literally just cut back on some of those different things and make changes. And even if you are tracking your calories, those are some things that you can do as well in order to be in a calorie deficit. Is, again, cutting back on snacking a little bit, cutting back on portions, working in 1 additional healthier meal throughout the day. And then the last thing when it comes to nutrition, just another extra tip, is I would try not to drink your calories. Again, it can all fit, like you could fit it within your calorie goals if you have a soda or you have, like a fruity drink, a Gatorade, something like that. But you got to think, for like 1 soda or 1 Gatorade, it's like 200 calories. And if you have, say you have 2 of those in a day, it's 400 calories. For a lot of people, your goal to be in a calorie deficit is probably going to be around like 1,500 to 2,200 calories. If you're having a 1/4 to a 1/5 of your calories be from something that you drink that's not very filling, you're probably either going to be super hungry if you stay within your calorie goals, or you're going to end up going over your calorie goals and not losing weight, not losing fat. So for me, I normally just drink water, sparkling water, coffee, some energy drinks sometimes. I do have drinks out, like I'll go have like tequila or wine or seltzers or light beers, but I try to keep that lower calorie. And then on those days, I just know that I have to pick and choose the calories I'm having, and I have to then cut back on the calories from foods I'm having earlier in the day and just have mostly healthy meals, the protein sources, the veggies, and then my fun calories for the day will then be from alcohol. Or if I'm not drinking, again, that's where I try not to have calories from actual drinks, just like Gatorade, soda, stuff like that, because I'd rather have something more fun that just like tastes better to me. Again, everyone has their own thing, but most of the time drinks are just not that filling for the calories. So that's something to keep in mind. Lastly, workout tips. And then we're gonna move on to plateau and we're gonna wrap this up because I know I've been going for a minute now. But workout tips. So one thing, if you wanna lose weight quicker, faster, or just start to be in a calorie deficit easier, again, please get steps in. This is a game changer. Just anecdotally for myself and clients, every time that we've just focused on getting in more steps in addition to what we're doing. Say someone hasn't been making progress, but we now focus on getting steps in and we get an extra 3,000 to 5,000 steps in a day. They're getting closer to 10,000 steps in a day. Or even for myself, I go for a 3 to 3.5 mile walk when I'm really trying to be on it with trying to lose weight, trying to lose fat. Anytime that myself or my clients do that, they lose weight a lot quicker, a lot faster, and start to make progress. So please prioritize that. That is a game changer if you're not doing it right now. That makes a big time difference. And then the lifting side of things. Again, you don't have to be lifting weights to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight, but if you want to look lean, you want to look toned, you want to look ripped, you want to maintain the weight loss easier, even lifting 2 days per week, 3 days per week is so helpful. So focus on those things. And then lastly, let's get into it. If you are, all right, the last section, and thank you for being here. Hopefully this video has been super helpful. Leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know what video you want to see next, but I'm going to try to do more informational videos like this where it's just having a discussion and conversation about how to make progress in different ways and different topics. So let me know what you want me to discuss next. All right, so last section. If you hit a plateau with your calorie deficit and weight loss journey, there are 3 main things I want you to think about and keep in mind, and then we're gonna have an actionable step on that 3rd one. So number 1, you might not be giving it enough time. You might be taking the right steps. You might be tracking your calories within your calorie goals. You might be getting steps in, but you just might not be giving it enough time. If it's only been a week or 2 weeks and you've only lost half a pound or you're kind of around the same, then I would say give it a little bit more time, and then you can determine if you need to make any changes from there or not. So that's one of the biggest things. If you're not making progress fast enough, it's probably you need a little bit more time, you need to be more consistent, need to be more patient. Again, you're not gonna lose 10 pounds in a matter of 2 weeks throughout your entire weight loss journey. The next thing is you might need to be more consistent. I think this is the biggest thing when it comes to hitting a plateau. People might have these different, you might have your calorie goals where you did the calculation, you multiplied your weight by 10 and 11, you have this calorie range, protein goals, you have a certain protein goal. I didn't touch on protein goals. Multiply your protein goal, multiply your weight in pounds by 0.6. So if you weigh 200 pounds, that's 120. If you multiply it by 0.6 equals 120. That is the grams of protein that you want to get in at least. If it's more than that, say you get 150 to 200 grams of protein, that's great. That can be helpful to be more full for the calories, but get in at least 0.6 grams of protein per pound of current body weight. That's what you want to focus on. So again, you could be consistent with all those things, getting steps in, calorie goals, lifting. You're giving it time, but you're not consistent with that time, then you're not gonna make progress. So if you're going over your calorie goals on the weekends, you have every single night, you have some extra snacks, you're not always getting your workouts in, you're not getting steps in, you're gonna struggle to make progress. So you need to buckle down a little bit more and be like, all right, I need to be as consistent as possible every single day to make progress. Yes, there's gonna be days where you're gonna go a little bit over calories. Not the end of the world. Get back on track tomorrow. That's all that it comes down to. If you have a high calorie day, weekend, can't fret on it too much, it happens. We all have a little too many drinks, a little too much fun food sometimes. Happens to the best of us. Happened to me this past weekend. A couple days ago, had a spicy beef quesadilla, and then I was having a good amount of beers, and I was like, you know what? I want chicken wings, and I want a cookie. So what'd I do? I had that. But I had to get back on track the next day, and that's all that we can do. So, but if I wanted, if I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, like I'm not making progress, I'm not losing the weight I want, then I got to look back on the weekend and be like, all right, I probably could have or should have been a little bit more consistent, or maybe I didn't need the extra chicken wings or the cookie or one of those things I didn't need. So I think that's where you got to take a step back and be like, all right, I can be more consistent during these times. Normally it's the weekends. Normally it's, workout, staying consistent with that. Normally it's getting steps in. I think those are the 3 times where I see people struggle the most, is you're just not making time to kind of plan out the day of, as far as like how to stay within your calorie goals or near them on the weekend days. You're not planning out what meal you're gonna have when you go out to eat. And then you're also not, you're not taking the time to get in extra steps throughout the day. We all, are busy, we have things going on, and if you're not really intentional with getting steps in, not super intentional with being active, then that's one of the biggest things. So, consistency. Lastly, if you really are at a plateau, so the way that you know you're actually at a plateau is if it's been 2-3 weeks and you have been super consistent with everything. You've been within your calorie goals 90% of the time, you're getting steps in, but scale weight is just staying right around the same. You're not making any progress after 2 to 3 weeks, and your body isn't really changing. You've seen progress photos, you're not seeing any changes, there's no real difference there. Then it's probably time to make a change. So the changes that I would say to make are gonna be, 1, you need to cut back on your calorie goals a little bit. So it doesn't need to be anything too crazy, but say your goal is to be between 2,000 and 2,200 calories, I would then aim to be between 1,850 to 2,000 calories, or 1,800 to 2,000, and try to be a little bit closer to 1,800 calories, something like that. So you need to drop calories down a little bit. So that'll be one thing that'll be really helpful. And really, again, the best way to do that is by cutting back on portions and or working in more healthy foods. So working in more fruits, more veggies, more high protein foods, and then cutting back on some of the fun stuff a little bit and being within that new lower calorie range. And then the next thing is going to be just getting in more activity. So maybe that's getting in an additional 1 to 2 workouts per week, or maybe that's getting in an extra 3,000 to 5,000 steps per day, or it's getting in an additional run. If you like running, go for a couple extra runs throughout the week. Anything to get in some additional activity is going to make it easier to be in a calorie deficit. So ideally you do a combination of both of those. So maybe it's cutting back on calories by 100 to 200 calories, and then you're getting in a little bit of extra cardio in to kind of push it a little bit more. And even if you just want to push to make a little bit more progress at any point in time, that's what you can do. You can go get in more activity, go get in more cardio, get in an additional 1 to 2 workouts per week, and you can cut back on calories a little bit in order to keep making more progress a little bit quicker. If you maybe not at a plateau, but you're just at the point where you're like, all right, I'm ready to kick it into high gear and make even more strides. That's what you want to focus on. So yes, it's normal to eventually hit a plateau in some capacity, and again, oftentimes it's simply you just need to lock back in, be more consistent with the goals, and until you've been super consistent, you don't know if you've actually hit a true plateau or not. It's most of the time, again, just locking in, being consistent. But then if you actually are at a plateau, those are the things that you want to focus on to make more progress. So, calorie deficits. That's it. That's how you do it. That's what you focus on. Comment and let me know what questions you have. Hopefully that was helpful, beneficial. I know it was long, drawn out, but again, hopefully helpful. Much love. I'm looking forward to the next video. I appreciate you being here. Talk soon.